I was here in the studio when we threw live to our correspondent and we saw those images and I was welling up because I just for that moment thought, oh my goodness, Princess Diana's not going to see this baby. And because when I was 28, I lost my dad very suddenly to a heart attack. And when I got married, I remember thinking about my dad. It was just such a big loss for me. And I did a poem, which I couldn't get through, can you imagine? But I felt like I had to say it. But also the birth of Zach. I just remember just thinking, God, I wish I could show my dad my baby. My mum was there, but it's just not the same as having both parents there. And it was just really poignant for me because you do remember your parents in those great milestones, you know, whether it's
the first thing you think of, really.
It's the first thing you think of, exactly.
The first time you give birth.
Yeah, so it was. I felt that pain, I felt the sadness.
Do you talk about your dad a lot?
I do talk about my dad to my children, and I have a photograph of him. So just so that they know that he was an important part of my life. And I think as you get older and you get married, family becomes really important. Your identity, where you come from, who your family members are. So I do talk about it, but I do feel like my dad's present with me anyway. So, because you were saying, Gloria, about yourself, weren't you?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, when Karen lost her battle against cancer and her boys were only 10 and 7, it was my first thought, really, you know, how are they going to cope without their mum? And children are very resilient. At the beginning, I think they almost go into denial and sort of don't talk about it at all. I've got a little saying, by the way, that people never die if they live on the lips of the living. So I talk about Karen a lot, and that keeps her alive.
How old were the boys?
They were 10 and 7. But they go, obviously, through different phases. But I did a lot of research because of that. So this is fact. The research shows that as children get older, people get older, it's the landmark things like your graduation, like, pardon me, your engagement, like your wedding, and particularly when your first baby is born.
Yeah.
It's then that you want to show that baby to your parents and you think of your parents immediately. And so... you know, again, the boys are now 25 and 23, so we'll have to sort of see how that plays. But Charlie, just to say that Charlie, at 25, is really wanting to know things now, which, of course, in a way, I'm delighted to tell him, because I want to keep Karen's memory very alive.
I mean, Brenda, you were so young when you lost your parents.
I can relate to both of what they're saying, but because I was 4 when both of my parents died in a car crash, so I kind of look at that. So there's Mummy and Daddy. But I understand what you're saying about the studies. But for me, my own personal experience, there is not a day that goes past when I don't think about my mum and dad. It's not just birthdays; it's everything. Because you watch telly and you're like, oh, I wish that I had my mum to laugh about that sort of thing.
How do you remember them? I mean, given that you were 4, what is your... When they come into your head, what comes into your head?
Well, there's things like smells. I remember certain smells, and they loved music. So that's why I love music, and I'm glad that I've followed the career that I originally wanted to follow as a performer, as a singer. But you know, I was very taken aback when I saw Lady Diana when she died and the boys walking behind. Well, I don't.
Because at 4 you wouldn't fully understand.
I don't have memories of them per se. I just have. I know they used to get a Chinese every Friday, and I remember that curry sauce smell. And I know they love music, so I've got music all over my house. But you never ever. I personally never forget my mum and dad. They're there all the time. And I kind of had, when my children were born, I was like, oh, I wish that they would be there to say granny, granddad, whatever. But I kind of had a Lion King moment with both of my children. I was like, presenting. You know? And that's the way that I kind of... But I will never get over it. It gets easier, but you never, ever forget.
You mentioned, you know, Prince Harry and Prince William following their mum's cortege, and I think that must stick in most people's consciousness.
Yes.
Did it resonate particularly for you? I mean, obviously people would feel sympathy, but for you, I guess, did it feel like you?
It felt like me, but I didn't get to go to the funeral. So I looked at it and I thought, would I have wanted to witness that and be there? I think now, probably not. Probably my family did make that right decision, but I'll never know.
Do you know what I think is really interesting, though, because you were only 4? I think that's why it's so important that grandparents and people around you talk about your
Yeah.
parents, because at 4 you would have either no memory or little memory, but it's the folklore of it, you know, your mum was great at doing this, or what a wonderful wedding day
Yeah.
they had. So it's important for all of us,
Yeah.
I think.
We do
You know,
have that
like
in
you
my
lost your mum
family.
sadly last year, Kay, but I'm sure you talk about your mum all the time.
Yeah, it's still, you know,
raw.
quite kind of raw.
Yeah,
so,
of course it is.
you know, yeah, when it feels right. But I mean, I'm blessed. I've only got happy memories, you know, and I know that will come back. And you know, but there's just milestones, aren't there? You know, that there's
Yes,
times. I
definitely.
mean, God, I was on the phone to my mum 3 or 4 times a day. I mean, it was just
Yeah.
constant. I kept saying to her, I'm going to get something embedded in my back tooth, so you can just contact me whenever you think about it. And funnily enough, my little one now just phones me all the time. I mean, she just,
Yeah.
whenever a thought pops into her head, she phones me. And so for me, I think, oh, Bonnie's become my mum.
Yeah.
She's the person who's always on the phone to, where are you? What are you doing? I mean, that's just it. And
how
that's
lovely
nice.
that relationship you had with your mother, you're having with your daughter now.
Yeah,
How
and
lovely
Bonnie
is
was so
that?
good with my mum when she
That's
was ill, so
amazing.
it is nice.